I'm Kerry and I'm from Perth.
Kerry, can you tell me about your first real job?
My first real job was in Asda's in the cafe. I worked, I think it was 8.5 hours. It was just a weekend job.
Can you remember what they paid you?
I think it was $2.90 because it was only 15
per hour.
Yeah.
Right. Now, can you think back to when you first were out independently living?
The first time I moved out, I was 18, and I moved in with a boyfriend. It was in a flat downtown.
And what was it like? How big a shock was it? Kind of the culture shock?
It was a big shock because you suddenly realised what rent was, what council tax was, how to work a washing machine, how to do everything for yourself.
Here, let them see. We've got a whole load of people over here. They're all looking down now, making you laugh. People watching this on the way you're laughing. Right, so you lived in a flat. Now, tell me about washing machine.
Yeah, our first washing machine was second hand. It was refurbished. A family friend had given it to us, and no instruction manual at all. You had to figure out how to do things yourself, so it was trial and error. I was in charge of washing because I'd used a washing machine before, but I was also in charge of ironing, and I didn't know what seams were.
What were? Seams
were.
Tell me.
So when you iron a seam in a piece of clothing, I didn't know what that was.
You say that you were in charge of washing and ironing. What about cooking? What was your diet like when you first moved out?
It wasn't too bad because I'd learned to do a lot at school, so I could cook mince and potatoes, and I could do stew and soup and things like that, so it wasn't too bad.
So you didn't live in rancher burgers and frozen pizza?
No. I did have the odd frozen pizza, but not very many.
And what about, how did you do your money for your weekly grocery shop?
It was harder because with staying with someone you had to split the finances between two, and I think I was more financially aware of things than my partner was, so it ended up that I was paying majority of the bills and he wasn't. So yeah, it was quite hard.
What about stuff like your phone and your TV and things? Did you make any?
I wasn't really focused on having a TV and a telephone in the house because I had my mobile.
Yeah.
And I kept in regular contact with people through my mobile, but my partner at the time, he was focused on having Sky Television and the latest things in the house rather than having food on the table. It was, a rather weird setup.
It's quite dear, isn't it, Sky? You're getting that in?
Yeah.
Right, so you mentioned council tax. Were you aware of council tax before you moved out? You're eligible for it if you're not a student, or for instance? Or?
I knew that we had council tax, but I didn't know about any discounts you got for being a student, or discounts for being like a single parent, or things like that. I didn't know anything like that.
Where would you go to find out that? Now that if you're looking into something.
Well, recently I found out about welfare rights through the council, and they're fantastic.
So you went to the council directly, to PKC?
Yeah, they have a welfare rights department which tells you about everything that you're entitled to, like benefits, discounts for housing, and things like that. They're able to kind of point you in the right direction and tell you what you're entitled to from a few short questions.
That's great. Now I'm going to ask you, I've only two more things to ask you. Now the first is, you see, if you're looking back and you could meet your younger self now, and you're about to move out for the first time, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't move in with a boy.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Right, and the last thing I want to ask, are you aware that in Scotland, in this country, there's a minimum wage, and people aren't legally allowed to pay any less than that per hour? Are you aware of that? Do you know what it would be?
For me, I think it's just over £6.
Thank you very much.
Okay.